Welcome back to another Stakehouse Strategy episode. Our regular listeners will know that we're putting these episodes together to help you refine your betting strategy ahead of the new football season. Once again, I'm your host, Colin McCabe, joined by my partner in crime, Lucas Dazinski. And Lucas, we're going to be utilising you for a lot of this episode because today we are talking about the Asian Handicap and what it is. Now, we did have a few other names in mind for this episode, but unfortunately we found that none of them were politically correct. So we're keeping the name of it nice and simple. Let's dive straight in. What is it about the Asian Handicap that works for you? Because you look at you for the last 6 years, you've shown 5 years solid profit, all utilising this betting market. What is it about this market that you like?
Well, it's not only me, to be honest. All the professional syndicates all use Asian Handicap. So there's a significant difference using Asian Handicap between other markets. The main reason why it's used is because it kind of reduces the element of a draw. So, for example, if you were betting 1x2 or win, draw, win, there's 3 obviously possible outcomes. Asian Handicap, there's only 2 outcomes. Two kind of markets to bet on, right? Obviously, there's multiple handicaps per game, but obviously, if you have less potential outcomes to bet on, then your likelihood of winning your bet increases, right? So, one, it reduces the risk massively. Generally speaking, as well, the margin, so the bookmaker margin, what the bookmakers put into so they can make their money, is reduced. It's usually lower than if you're betting on 1x2. Additionally, it gives us more opportunities to bet on games. So, for example, I don't know, if United, well, maybe United, that's a bad example. Oh, God, say no. City are like clear favourites. Yeah, City are clear favourites playing at home against, I don't know, Sunderland at home, right? They might be priced at, I don't know, 1.2 to win the game, right? You look at that, you're not going to be like, there's no point betting on that, right? The price is just too small.
Yeah.
But with Asian Handicap, what you can do is add a virtual handicap to the team. So either team, home and away, right? So you can put, for example, I don't know, Man City minus 2 goals. So what that means basically is there's a virtual handicap on that team. So they start with 2 less goals. So basically, example, minus 2. It will be probably round evens, maybe it might be minus 2.5. But what that means is basically you're backing City to basically win by more than 2 goals. So again, like, if you looked at that game, you probably wouldn't put a bet on because it's just like 1.2. Like, what's the point, right? Put a tenner back, you get 12 quid back. So it gives you more betting opportunities on games, I would say.
Yeah, and looking at it from a slightly less professional standpoint as well, one thing that I really like about it is it's not simply always a win outcome or a lose outcome, right? The closer we get to the desired outcome, we can still sometimes see us winning half of our bet or breaking even or only losing half. There's lots of different outcomes there where you're still rewarded for getting close to what you assumed was the perceived outcome of the game. But let's dive over and look at some exact examples now. Let's look at where people can find and access the Asian Handicap. Let's see how they can review, different handicaps in question for a game, and exactly what they stand to win or lose from betting on each one.
Yeah, so let me share my screen.
So you're sharing your screen again. This is if you can get to a computer out there for this bit. We would advise it. We'll still talk about it as clearly as we can, but there's always nothing like a bit of visual as well.
All right, so hopefully you guys can see this, right? So the way you go to the market, as you do, for example, we'll pick Premier League, right? And then maybe let's go Brighton, Fulham, right? So here you have... just to be clear, each bookie will kind of display where those age handicaps are differently. I'm guessing British 65 is probably the most common one that everyone's familiar with. So you go on the main market, you can see the full-time draw, the full-time result, so 1x2 or win, draw, win. Usually to get to Asian Handicap, you can easily click here, Asian Handicap, and it's here. So this will be where the Asian Handicap line is. However, if you go to alternative Asian Handicaps, you can pick other ones. Obviously, the prices will vary, but usually the one that displayed will be the one that's kind of like even money
Yeah.
almost very close to even money, right? But for
Yeah.
example, if we think Brighton, if we think Brighton going to smash Fulham, right, we can even go like on a -1 or -2 or whatever you want. So yeah, and then what you'll notice as well, there's quarters. So one good way of trying to understand what a quarter is you can easily Google Asian Handicap and go on images, and it'll show you very clearly what happens. Alternatively, what Betfair does really well is, let me share my other screen.
To be clear, we are not affiliating for either of these sites. We are simply helping you understand the market. Just to
ignore my
get that
balance.
disclaimer in before their legal teams come after us. Carry on.
Yeah, so for example, is another game I've chosen. So for example, Nottingham Forest against Brentford. Let's do like a quarter Asian handicap, right? So yeah, maybe let's just click this. So Brentford plus a quarter. So basically, you can clearly see, say let's put a £10 stake, right? This is quite nicely visualises what happens with your £10, right? So half the money is put on Asian Handicap 0, half the money on plus a half. So basically what that means is if Brentford win, you win your full stake. If it's a draw, it's a half win because half the stake goes on 0, half the stake is on plus a half. And if Nottingham Forest win, you lose all your money.
Exactly. Yeah, that's a really good summary and breakdown. So, look, from that, you might still not find yourself or think of yourself as an expert on the Asian Handicap, but I really like the Betfair Exchange tool as well because what it does, it allows you to play around with it and click between the different handicap levels. So maybe with your handicap, you want to do what Lucas does a lot, which is place mostly the even money markets. Sometimes you might want to take a little bit more of a risk and play, if you think, Chelsea at home to Southampton, not Southampton, no, not even in the Premier League anymore, but Chelsea at home to Sunderland. You think they're going to win by at least 3 goals or 4 or 5 goals even, then you can move the handicap line along and you end up backing Chelsea -4, -4.5 or whatever it happens to be, and that can be a bigger payout like 5-6 to 1. So alternatively, maybe you want to play a bit safer and you want to put, you think Chelsea, they'll absolutely win or draw that match, so then you can go hard the other way. It completely depends on what sort of way you want to approach. But my advice is if you're not comfortable with it, go on the exchange and play around with that tool and put the amount in. You can put the amount in and see what profit and loss you stand to make on each outcome without having to make the bet. So it gives you a really nice opportunity to test it out. And the last thing that I'd say on it is just note the way that the quarter markets are positioned. So I think on Betfair, right, they're plus. They actually say plus 0.25 and so on and so forth.
Yeah.
Whereas other sites like Bet365, which we've just shown you, they won't say plus 0.25.
So to add to this, what I was referring earlier, what you can do is, like I said, Google it and look at images. There's loads of content out there, but ultimately, this is a good way to display it. So yeah, good way to familiarise yourself. So, for example, like you said, quarter, right? 0.75, some bookies will do 0.5, and then it'll be a mix of 0.75, but this tells you clearly what happens by each result, right? So, for example, here, minus 0.75, it shows that if you win by 2, you win by 1 is a half win, if it's a draw, is a loss. Alternatively, the other side, it's the opposite, right? So if you lose by 1, a half loss, you lose by more than 2 goals, 2, and the draw is a win, and a win's a win. So, yeah, I'd say like the most common mistake that people make is not understanding this and what understanding you're placing on. So, confusing quarter ones as well.
That's a great image. I love that.
Yeah, so familiarise yourself with this.
100% familiarise, study it, have a look at it, and this way, when we go through this season and Lucas is placing Asian Handicap bet after Asian Handicap bet, hopefully now you have a little bit more understanding of what he means and what he's talking about, and get more of an insight into why it's so successful for him. Because obviously, I don't like saying it too much because we don't want his head to get any bigger, but it's obviously proved very, very lucrative for you over the last few years, right?
Yep.
Cool. And that's it. There is your working understanding of the Asian Handicap market. As I say, we'll be using that all season. So play around with it, have some fun with it, and enjoy your betting with it.
Cheers.